I asked a former IELTS examiner on our team to name one thing most test takers could do to improve their score in IELTS speaking. His answer? Give extended answers that show your English skills. Today, I'll show you 8 easy ways to give extended answers to any question in parts 1 and 3, including the ultimate answer structure that works even for the hardest questions. Let's start with the first one, giving reasons. The question is, let's talk about what you do in the mornings. Is breakfast an important meal for you? I think giving your reasons is the easiest way to extend your answer, and it works for any question. Here is how you can use it. If we take our question, instead of just saying yes or no, you could also answer this question. Why is it important or not important? And the obvious keyword is because. Listen to this answer. Is breakfast an important meal for you? Most definitely, yes. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day because it gives you the energy to stay physically and mentally alert. Even better if you can add a kind of consequence or result, like this. That's why I never skip it. We can put the explanation using because, as, or since. Since breakfast is so important, I make time for it, even if it's just grabbing a banana on my way out the door. We can also put this the other way around, first the result and then the reason. I never skip breakfast, as I'm basically a zombie without my morning coffee. And we can also use so or that's why to show consequences or results. I love breakfast, so I try not to skip it, even if it's just a piece of stale toast. If we go back to our answer, to make it even better, we could add more of a personal touch, a personal example. That's always a good idea in part 1. And this could be our second way to extend our answers, giving examples. Here we go. For example, I always try to get up early so I have enough time to prepare coffee, cereal, and some fruit. The answer is looking pretty good, right? In part 1, you have 20-25 seconds per answer. Of course, some answers can be slightly shorter or longer, but generally aim to reply to each question in several sentences. Let's take our next question and see another way to talk for longer, adding information. And our second topic is, let's talk about being challenged. Which subject at school did you find most challenging? While you're listening to the answer, look for ways to add information or to add more ideas. Honestly, it was history. I have a terrible memory for dates, so I'd often zone out in class. Plus, I never saw the point of it all. And the exams were tough since they were mostly about memorizing names and dates. Oh, and one more thing. The teacher's voice was so monotonous, it was hard to stay awake. In spoken English, it's very easy to add more points using and plus one more thing. You could also use also or apart from that. Another way to extend your answer is to tell a story. This is a great way because it can show the examiner that you can comfortably talk about the past. Just remember that you have 20-25 seconds per answer, so keep your story short. Otherwise, the examiner may stop you and switch to the next question. And if that happens, that's not a problem either. Our question is, how different was your morning routine when you were a child? It was very different. We started at 7:30 a.m., which felt like the middle of the night. I was always in a mad rush to catch the bus, so I rarely had time for a proper breakfast. Instead, I would eat my lunch snack on the way to school and would feel starving by lunch with no food left. Have you noticed the use of would? I would eat my snack. I would feel starving. Do you know what it means? Would shows repeated actions in the past that don't happen anymore. We could also use used to do something. Some of my friends used to feel sorry for me and would invite me to share their lunch. Talking about the past is a great way to extend your answer even if the question is in the present. Let me show you how to do it using another topic from recent exams: films. By the way, if you'd like to have a library of challenging IELTS speaking topics, check out our IELTS speaking library. It covers over 40 topics from real exams, each with sample answers and useful vocabulary. You can also download the questions only without the answers and vocabulary for free on our Telegram channel. Both are linked in the description. Now, how can you use the past to answer a question about the present? The question is, how often do you go to the cinema? What if I hardly ever go there? That's where talking about the past can help. To be honest, not often these days. I maybe go once or twice a year when there is something truly worth watching, like Alien vs. Batman 5. I used to go much more often when I was younger, probably every other weekend. Once, I even bought a seasonal ticket so I could watch every new movie at a very reasonable price. In this answer, we're comparing the present with the past. And this leads us to the next way to extend answers: compare and contrast. When we speak, we often use but or though to show contrast between two things. I enjoy watching films at home, though if it's one with loads of sound effects and action, I'd prefer to go to the cinema. But when we try to give more complex arguments, the words we use become more formal, like although, however, on the other hand, maybe like this. Do you enjoy facing challenges in your daily life? Well, yes and no. I mean, I really like that feeling of satisfaction when I know I've done some difficult task at work well. On the other hand, the process can be stressful, and I'm not sure I handle that part of it so well. Now that our answers are becoming more complex, it's a good moment to switch our attention to part 3, where answers are going to be longer and we'll be using more than one way to extend each answer. A great way to extend your part 3 answers is to talk about the pros and cons. There is a recent part 2 topic that asks you to describe a person you know who is good at buying things at low prices. In other words, a good bargain hunter. And one type of part 3 question that is very common is to compare the pros and cons, or the advantages and the disadvantages. For example, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of online shopping? Even my grandma is totally obsessed with online shopping. In your answer, balance the two sides, the pros and the cons. And let's look at some ways to include this contrast in our answer. This time, I've left the linking words blank. What would you use to fill these blanks? Of course, shopping online is very convenient. Then you can talk about the pros. Blank, there are some downsides, and you can talk about the cons. So what do you think? It's one of those times when we pause a little before making a contrast and probably emphasize the linking word. It's like saying but we can make it stronger. Here I'd put however or on the other hand. Recently, my grandma bought something for me online. The infamous expectations versus reality moment. And here we could say the following. Blank. An item of clothing can look great on your screen at home. What you see when you open the package might be quite different. So what linker would you add? I'm giving you a few seconds to think. Well, that's where we first say something that depends on something else to make sense. I thought the best word here is although or while. Okay, the next way to extend answers can really show your mastery of English if you can pull it off, using conditional sentences. Looking back at the first example, it mentions dangers. On the other hand, there are some downsides. So we could just give one or two examples of these dangers, or we can use conditional sentences to back this up. Like this. If you buy something online, you must make sure the site is reputable. If you don't, you could become the victim of a scam. We use if to set a condition. Unless can help us add a restriction. Unless you're absolutely sure it's safe, avoid making online credit card payments. Conditional sentences could also help us speculate. All we do is change the verb tenses. If more people were aware of the dangers involved in making online payments, there would be far fewer scams. Right, let's try and put together a complete answer to the advantages versus disadvantages question using the ultimate structure that can help you give brilliant answers, and it uses all the techniques you've learned so far. Do you want to try and fill in the blanks? I'm giving you 60 seconds, but you can pause the video if you need more time. Ready? The first is because or since. We're giving a reason. Number 2 is plus what's more or not only that to add another idea. Next, for example or for instance. Number 4, adding a contrast with however, nevertheless, or on the other hand. Number 5 is a restriction, unless. So what's the structure that can really help you in part 3 where examiners expect longer answers with more developed ideas? Let's have a look. This answer starts off with a point of view, your opinion. Then it gives arguments to support it. Then we present the opposing views, or in our case, our disadvantages. And we can mention conditions, if, or restrictions, unless. As for our part 3 question, it actually belongs to the easier type of questions. In part 3, the harder the questions, the better it is for you. And if you want to know why and how to answer different types of part 3 questions, watch this video here. Thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam. Bye!